So back in 2014, when Steve Ballmer had purchased the Clippers, he sort of ushered in a brand new era of a particular kind of NBA owner, where we seen before in the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s. Those NBA owners particularly got their wealth in the industries where they were the first to. For example, they were the first to come up with a pharmaceutical product, and they were able to utilize their position in the marketplace and make millions, if not billions. Or the first to acquire a certain piece of real estate, maybe that was undervalued at a certain time, but then it became valuable. So in those industries, you don't really have to be as innovative as a person in tech where they're thinking for the future. And when Steve Ballmer had purchased the Clippers for $2 billion, not only inflated the price of every single other NBA team, but it also ushered in the tech billionaires. Or should I say the forward-thinking billionaires, guys that were able to capitalize off of certain products by creating something that was in demand for either society as a whole or for the business sector of this country. But those particular guys that are getting into the NBA and buying up these teams that are coming from this sector, they're bringing brand new innovation to the way that most NBA fans interact with the product. So they're always going to be forward thinking. That's naturally who they are. That's who they had to be in order to make their money. But Steve Ballmer has sat down with Paul George and they spoke about that brand new Clipper arena. And you're going to see the same mindset that made Steve Ballmer rich. It's almost like a characteristic of his. And he's bringing it now onto the NBA marketplace. And he's going to make it a lot better for NBA fans. You guys check it out. And every once in a while, I'll check in.
When I first acquired the team, one of the things that was a good thing for me is we didn't have to build an arena. Because most of the time, I mean, if you look at it, many of the times when teams sell, it's because there needs to be an upgrade or a renovation to an arena. And I thought, isn't this great? I don't have to own an arena. We play in one. It's all good. I didn't realize how unfun that was for us versus the Kings and the Lakers. You know, better financial arrangements. You don't see the Lakers playing on Saturday afternoons. You don't see the Lakers playing or the Kings playing when Monday Night Football's on. You know, you just don't see those things. And during the first year, when I bought the team by myself. And I think it was during the first year, a buddy of mine from college, I sold him 1% of the team. And he's in the real estate business. And he said, his name's Dennis Wong. He says, Ballmer, we got to build a building. And I said, well, I didn't want to, but you're in a real estate business. So if we're going to do this, it's as much on you as it on me.
Right.
And so he gave me the courage, I would say. And then he started the process of finding a piece of land. We looked at a bunch of different sites around the city and the area. What could we do? Where made sense? Actually getting land, even if you identify it, that's a tough process. Getting it, what they call entitled, permission essentially from government to go build the thing. We're in California. In California, no government puts up any money for arenas, so I knew we were going to have to do that. I was going to have to do that all myself. And then, I figured, okay, well, my partner would do most of the work. But then I found, no. I care about how this arena looks. So I care about how it works. And, literally, so we started on this project, it'll be 9 years. 2015 we started, we'll open in 2024, so 9 years. And the first year or so was all about getting the real estate. Then we essentially got sued, and the Madison Square Garden guys who owned the Forum, they were trying to block us. We wound up buying the Forum, even though we're building the building down the street. So, we own the Forum now,
so you
too.
have to buy the Forum as well?
They were going to stop. I mean, look, they were going to try to block us from building a building. So we bought. Unless we bought the Forum. So we bought the Forum.
More meat on the rack.
This is another edition of Rich People Shit.
So we own the Forum also. We own the Forum in addition to it though with the Clippers. Anyway, there's a whole story there if you ever want to know. Anyway, and I said, look, we got to have I have a point of view. I wanted an arena that works for the true basketball fan. And by the way, the music fan, because we're going to have concerts. But it had to work for the true basketball fan. And there's some things that I wanted more noise. I wanted people closer to the action. I wanted people to be comfortable so that they're not just squirming in their, you don't want people just laying back like this, not cheering. You want people up and at it, but you don't want people, people want the leg room.
Right,
They want the leg room. They don't want to have to go like this because they can't see over the person in front. So we said, we're going to do that.
And that right there is the forward thinking, because not only that he has to think about how the fan experience is going to be like, he also has to think about how he's going to sell LA the idea of coming to Clipper games or just coming into this arena and watching basketball games, besides them going to the Staples Center that they're used to and seeing the stars, the celebrities. That's how the Lakers promote their arena. Come see the stars. So Ballmer, thinking ahead, is just like he got to sell a complete different experience. And in a way, it almost has to trump over the fact that most of LA is Laker fans. Maybe I want to see the Lakers at the new Clipper Dome because, hey, I want to charge my phone in the seat. And I like the leg space and I like the view, even though we don't have to buy expensive tickets. Because a lot of the new arenas that have been recently built, whether it's in the NBA, NFL, baseball, hockey, most of these brand new arenas have been reconstructed where the main part, if you're not sitting courtside, is the suites. The suites really get the best view, and that's where most sports franchises sell their corporate tickets, and those are the customers that tend to pay the most money for seats. But when you give the suites the main part of the view, that means like a lot of the sections, especially up top, they tend to be steep. They tend to be very narrow, uncomfortable. And unfortunately, I would say in the last couple of years, I would say in the last 10 years, most arenas have been built not with the fans in mind. It's just really to sell corporate tickets and improve the suites.
We saw an early option to do a crazy thing for a scoreboard, and it's like, okay, is this really going to work?
What's the
What
crazy
the hell?
thing? What's the crazy thing for the scoreboard?
Our scoreboard's an acre. We have an acre of scoreboard. That's 44,000 square feet. The average big NBA scoreboard is 9,000 square feet. So we got about 5 times as much scoreboard as some of the biggest boards out there.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jerry Jones. That's the Jerry Jones blueprint right there.
Just to give you a sense, we got an acre of surface area for our scoreboard.
Tell us about these restrooms that you got so many of.
God, man, I'm talking scoreboards, and you want to go into the job? You want to take me back?
I mean,
you want to take me back to
I
the
wanna take you-
1,300? You call them fixtures because if you say 1,300 toilets, it sort of misses the fact that urinals shouldn't be used as a toilet. Anyway, toilets plus urinals, we got 13 or 1,400. I can't even remember right now. I wanted people in their seats watching the game. People, I hate it when you see lines and people can't come back in. We talked about what do we do to make sure there's less water. You know how there's always water on the floor of the bathrooms. I think that looks like shit. So how do you design the sink so that the paper is next to the disposal, is next to the soap, is next to the sink? How do you make the sink deep enough? I'm still worried about that. So that you're not splashing water all over. I mean, we went through the details.
That's that forward thinking. You got to recognize the characteristics. You see, these are the characteristics I'm talking about. It's in them. It's in them to think about these things because best believe the owners of the past, they do not build these arenas or just have the overall fan experience in mind. They really have it in mind just on a basic level. This is something completely different.
I think it's going to come out, but I still worry. I worry about everything in the thing because even though I think we've done a good job, the other day I sat and it turns out the architect said we were the first ownership group that actually demanded that they put up 2 rows of seats. Normally people try out the seat. Well, I wanted 2 rows so you could feel the legroom. And then I sat, a year later in some seats, and they didn't feel the same. And I thought, oh my God, this is bad. Because I we're putting the same investment in person in the upper bowl as we do way down at the bottom. You may sit farther away, but we want you to have same comfort level. Well, it turns out the bowl's not like this. It's like this. And so the people down low get a little more leg room, and the people up higher get a little more headroom. Because it's the same, and we have wider rows, and we have wider or wider seats, and we have deeper leg room than anybody in the NBA.
Hey, shout out to the plus size Laker fans, man. They may end up going to the new Clipper Dome to catch some of these Laker games. So I'm not gonna lie. These new arenas take the same blueprint as some of these airlines. They're just packing people in like sardines. I mean, Jesus, I could imagine Ballmer just filling out the leg room. Some of these seats be feeling like Spirit Airlines, man.
How do we make that an experience? we got some tricks coming. We'll have power to every seat, so you can charge your phone if you need to during the game.
That's sick.
That's big.
That's awesome.
We'll know whether you're
That right there is a feature you get when you buy premium tickets in most of these arenas today.
standing up, sitting down, and if you're cheering, we know how many decibels you're putting out. We know whether you're standing up, sitting down.
Yeah.
Because we put chips in the seats that help us understand some of this stuff.
Do the seats got heat warmers?
Seats don't have good question. The thing I wanted to do was put what they call like in a controller, put a little haptic feedback. Like it's exciting time of game or Disneyland ride. The problem is, one of our guys who used to work at Disney says, what would happen is people would be holding their beer. The beer would be pouring. I kind of want to give you a little gooser. It's time to stand up and cheer. But that idea, that one didn't happen.
That's interesting that there's a tracker on the seats to see when fans get up and sit down. So basically, they're going to know exactly when to play certain songs, when to tell the in-arena announcer to get fans hyped. This is very interesting, the way that they're just taking advantage of just knowing the data. And also, they'll know when to tell the vendors to make more food. Like, fans are in their seats around this time because they're standing up and down, up and down. It makes more sense to prepare our concessions around this time versus this time. This is very interesting. No more guessing. And that'll help them save a lot of money on the amount of food that they waste and throw away every single night.
The wall, at one end of the building, we have no suites. So it's just 51 rows from the bottom all the way up to the top, more like a college gym.
Okay.
And we got a section right in the middle, maybe 300 or 400 people, standing room only.
That's the new thing in these arenas, the standing rooms. I've seen the baseball arenas, they do it especially, where they just have these standing seats. That's a new concept, I would say, in the last 10 years that came about. But it's very interesting because a lot of these new arenas that have been built in the past few years, they would never take that stance of just building seats straight up. That middle section is reserved for the suites. That is the new blueprint. You look at any new NFL stadium built in the last 10 years. Same thing for some of these baseball stadiums. You can even see the new Yankee Stadium. It has an obstruct view because they have a whole restaurant for people dining in and spending more money, that they obstruct the view of certain fans. But Steve Ballmer definitely approaches his ownership of the Clippers from the standpoint of, how can I make this NBA product better for fans to consume?
Got to stand. Kind of student section-y. It's kind of right where the free throw shooter has to look to shoot the free throw. And when the opponent's down there shooting free throws, we got our guys standing there. And, basically like the soccer, if you're not cheering hard, you won't be able to stand there in the future. That's not, you buy a seat and you're done. We have some of our more affordable seats there, so we can get some younger people in, maybe who don't have the resources to buy elsewhere. I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk about this yet, but we're working on what I would call a season pass instead of a season ticket. You buy a season ticket, you sell it if you're not going to the game. I don't like that. That's how we get all the evil other team fans in our building, and I'm sort of tired of that BS. So a season pass, you can share, like a Netflix account. You can share it with 3 or 4 people, but it's got to be those 3 or 4 people. You can't just sell it to somebody else. Now, we got to sell that at a low price. That's got to be a good price product, but we're going to have some season passes in there. And
that is very interesting. That's a beautiful concept. But Steve Ballmer, once again, he's that brand new owner that's kind of ushering in other owners of the similar mindset. The way we see Mark Cuban when he first bought the Dallas Mavericks, the way he was cheering for the team, sitting in the stands, you didn't really see that from other owners until Mark Cuban started doing it.
A bunch of other stuff.
I like that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Shout out to the Intuit.
That's awesome,
man. You did.
Thank you.
Shout out to the Intuit.
Thanks.
Bought
You
something
guys
in LA.
you had a good tour when we went over there and took
Oh, it
over.
was amazing. I was blown away. I mean, people don't realize this. There's like 5 full court basketball courts there. The outside court, I think, was awesome. Because you're not only tying in our games, you want actual community games there, whether it's, AAU stuff or high school championships. Like, you really want this a basketball stop.
Yeah.
In a way, it's almost like Steve Ballmer is really designing a basketball arena. From the way he talked about how that section is designed for fans to make a lot of noise for when guys are shooting free throws, to just having these smaller AAU games and just other basketball courts around the arena. He's solely making this a basketball arena, even though obviously it'll be used for other means of entertainment, but solely this arena is very interesting because the main purpose of it is for basketball. That's not something we've seen in a long, long time. I'm telling you, we definitely need more owners like this in the league.
Yeah. So we got an indoor court for the fans. We got an outdoor court for the fans. We obviously have the game court, and I think people, I believe you guys are going to really like the practice facility.
We're going to love it.
Yeah,
We're going to love it.
I think so. I was over there today taking a look, and we had a locker room. I'll tell you this. We had a locker room design. And then one of our guys was looking at the new locker room in the practice facility at Orlando. And he comes back and says, we got a problem. What's the problem? We got to make the locker room bigger. Well, what do you mean we got to make the locker room bigger? Because this is our practice locker room, in addition to our game locker room, we may not have enough space for all the shoes guys want to have at their locker. How many pair of shoes? Maybe 20 or 30 pair of shoes at the locker. It takes more space for that. Oh, by the way, we don't have a place to hang up a long coat. I said, this is L.A. He says, no, this is a place where some people want to style. They're going to have long coats despite the fact. So we wound up redoing. It was the latest change we make, and now we got a locker room that is, looks pretty big to me for 15 guys.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
So Ballmer has been working on an interactive app the last 7 years where he got feedbacks from fans, investors, season ticket holders. They sort of was launching it privately, just tweaking it every once in a while. I believe they officially launched it last year, but he really wants the game to be interactive, and he understands that the fact that the league is going global. The NBA overall has a plan to go global. It's not ironic that Luka, Embiid, Giannis are all in the league dominating. The league definitely has money invested overseas in camps and facilities to train players overseas on the game. You could look at the coach of the Sacramento Kings, Mike Brown. He ran a camp over there. I forgot in which country in Africa, but he was down there for years. Doris Burke was sent to recruit Pascal Siakam, almost risking her safety due to the fact that the priest that she was trying to convince in order to let Pascal Siakam play basketball, he was shot and killed when she was supposed to have a meeting with him. So all these international players, and just the way we got the in-season tournament that copies off of EPL, aka English Premiership Soccer, these things are not ironic. Because in the United States, ever since Michael Jordan has left the NBA, the game has grown steadily. But in that same time frame, when you look at the NFL, in those years, all the way up until present day, the NFL has grown twice as much. But the NFL is limited because internationally, they have a limited reach. But the NBA, that's where they're expecting to close that gap by making the game global. But Steve Ballmer also spoke on preparing for the game to be more globalized, and also his interactive direct-to-consumer app.
Yeah, I think we're fortunate that we have a game that probably winds up close to tied with soccer as the most popular game in the world. Basketball's never going to come close to soccer in some parts of the world, but in the United States, in China, in the Philippines, where they're playing the FIBA stuff right now, basketball is red hot. So I think that.
Now that right there, let's not underestimate that gap. Soccer will always be number one globally, but that gap between someone coming number two and them not being number two is crazy. Just mentioning China, that's access to billions of people, or just any other countries like India, parts of Africa like Nigeria, where the population is really young and there's a lot of people. This is where the NBA is trying to close the gap with the NFL. Because the NFL, when you look at it, they only operate for about 22, 25 weeks a year, and they make almost triple the amount of money the NBA does. But the NBA operates way longer. They have a lot more inventory in games. And if they hit that global audience, that's how they could pass the NFL in terms of revenue.
And it makes sense. You can play it, or you can go out and shoot. It's much more, it's not like the NFL, where it's just not.
You need
It's not
pads, you
conceded.
need
The NFL is perfectly good. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't get that same sense. I also, and this is going to sound funny, but games that are played without helmets means there's a lot more identity for the players. I mean, I can be a Seahawk fan if you ask me how many Seahawks would you actually recognize if you ran into them on the street. I might look at it again and say, I bet that guy plays for the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're not DK Metcalf or, Sherman when he was with the Seahawks, Bobby Wagner, but, you're not going to recognize a lot of those guys.
And that right there is the limit on the NFL, especially globally. Sports globally, people actually recognize the face. They're not used to that helmet. And the NFL has that everything is about the shield and no one could be bigger than the teams. Aaron Rodgers can't be bigger than the Packers or any other Hall of Famer. Steve Young can't be bigger than the 49ers and he can't be bigger than the NFL. The NFL is organization and shield first. But the NBA has a proven model with Michael Jordan especially being that globalized figure. And when I say globalized figure, just think about people in politics or people that have done something great that everyone knows around the world who they are. The NBA has produced that type of product. The NFL has really not. And Michael Jordan is exhibit A of that proof of concept.
Well, there's a lot more sort of intimacy and ability to relate because you're closer to the game. So I think our game's going to be just more and more popular. That's number one. How the business goes, I think the business will continue to be good, but this major shift that's going on from TV as we know it to streaming, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff that goes on in terms of how people are getting games. They'll get them. I don't know how. I don't know if it'll be through the networks, the streamers. Who knows?
The NBA definitely wants the games to be more accessible. That's the main issue that they're going to have with their TV partners going forward. Their longtime TV partners like TNT, they don't want them to put their NBA product behind a cable paywall when they understand that their young fans don't particularly have that service. They want TNT to have a universal app and find other ways to monetize those eyeballs. But things will get complex as tech companies like Amazon and Apple, they may want a couple exclusive games. So if fans don't have their services, they might not be able to see some of the games. But all these things are kind of still being worked out because the NBA want to strike a deal with these companies and somewhat find a way to put their product in front of fans without a paywall. That's where the future is really headed towards when it comes to these sporting rights. So it does kind of get tricky when the NBA is trying to divvy out their sports rights and collect billions of dollars because of it, and also making sure that their games are visible and it's not behind a pay for cable paywall. That's where it kind of gets tricky, but the league overall, they want to go in a direction where the games are accessible to all fans, whether you have cable or not. That's really what they want. They want the networks to figure out other ways of monetizing it through ads, etc.
The league will deal with that, if you will, as we go through the new media deal. But there'll be new ways to experience the game at home. As soon as you put it on the internet, you can interact with it, you can customize, you can do things to watch the game. This one I'm real excited about. I say to myself, I want to just watch this game from PG's perspective. Okay? I want to see what he sees.
That's that augmented reality. Apple is one of the first ones on that wave, but Steve Ballmer is also on that wave, as he does have that Clipper Vision app direct to consumer, and he is offering that augmented reality for certain fans.
Possible in the next couple of years. It is possible to say, hey, I just want to watch the game, see the game he sees. I think that'd be cool as hell myself. And the technology is going to let us do that kind of stuff. So I think our game not only is a good game, we're going to be able to make it even more exciting to the person who's not in the building, and hopefully with things like we're doing at Intuit inside the building. So I think that's in good shape. The fact that we got a deal that works for the players and for the team, I think that's very important. The thing I like about everybody, players, owners, that's got to happen every few years. But the truth of the matter is we've got a real partnership. We split the revenue 50-50. We all care about the same thing then. And of course, players will say, give us a little more, and the owners will say, give us a little less. And it's not my job the league takes care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the sense of partnership, I think, is really important. And I think it lets us build our game in a different way than you do in other leagues, frankly, because of the way the deal is structured.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fan of what the Players Association and the league have done about that, I guess is what I'm really trying to say. I think that's important. In terms of the excitement in the game, everybody's got their own opinion on what's exciting. Is it run up and down, shoot more three? The analytics say what? You're supposed to shoot corner threes and dunk the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But what do the analytics say as far as ratings? Because that run up and shoot a three and dunk the ball, those are the only two options. Fans have gotten sick of that. And that's produced low ratings ever since, I would say, 2016 and on. The ratings were high for those finals, but just regular season play, every team had the same style. And that's something that's missing with today's era versus the other eras.
Old school. I don't mind seeing games won, 94-90,
Mm-hmm.
but I may not speak for the average fan, and that's why there's smart guys at the league office and on the competition committee, players, coaches, etc. But we got to keep the game, super interesting. Game has evolved. It's evolved a lot since you came in the league.
A lot, yeah, it is. I tell all the young guys, like, now the game is fast paced. It's a lot more up and down. When I was, my first year in the league, there was two bigs on the court. There was no switching. There was no. It was either pick and roll, or it was either play out of the post, or that was NBA offense. Yeah.
And the NBA had to tweak the product. They do that every 10 years or so. They tweak the product. When Jordan was there, they came up with rules to slightly kind of favor him a little bit. And then from 2000 to about 2010, the game was a little bit too slow. Everybody was trying to imitate Michael Jordan. And when the Steve Nash Phoenix Suns introduced their style of play, the league wanted to go in that direction. And it's been like that ever since. And in a way, the Phoenix Suns with Steve Nash, their kind of style really is the style of the 80s. If you go back and look at the 80s basketball, that was particularly the style for most teams. It was up and down, fast pace. Of course, they had their centers and teams had their different styles, but a lot of teams played in the same style as those mid-2000s Phoenix Suns, particularly Magic Johnson and those Showtime Lakers.
Now it's our fives are initiating offense. 5 out, it's spread, it's run and gun. It was still a mid-range game when I was first coming in the league. And so, yeah, it's a different time.
For a lot of the great guys like on our team, it's still a little bit of mid-range on our team.
I love it.
And the mid-range ain't dead. But just going back to the different generations of players, because it really determines on that of how the NBA product tends to look like. As we see now, all these Stephen Curry babies are coming into the league, a.k.a. Trae Young, just trying to imitate Steph, and their play style is like that because when they were a kid, they were imitating Steph. Steph was imitating Gilbert Arenas, etc., etc. Whatever the play style is what the children imitate. They bring that to AAU, bring it to college, etc., and they bring it into the league. And just going from that to what we see today, we see Embiid, Jokic, Chet in OKC, and Wemby in San Antonio is introducing the new era of the versatile big man, which is going to be very hard for small ball teams to stop. Once those guys get polished, particularly Wemby and Chet, playing small ball is going to be very, very difficult. As we see today, Jokic is just dominating. It's just dominating. It's not even close. He should have won MVP 3 times.
I'm happy we have mid-range guys on our team because I'm a huge fan of using the mid-range. I mean, the best player in the world was the best mid-range guy. So I'm a fan of the league, of the game, still staying in that mid-range game. But yeah, it's grown a lot.
Getting rid of the take foul, that was essential. You can't have a game where people run up and down and then they can't finish the break. I mean, it's
that right there is a league understanding that took away a lot of dunks out the game. That take foul was a horrible rule. We're not going to see as many fast break dunks. Once again, the NBA is a television product. They kind of tweak it every 10 years based off the generation and just bringing brand new excitement to the game. Just the viewing audience needs to see something different.
From my fan perspective, I don't know. What did you think it was good to get rid of that or no?
I thought it was good. I thought it was good to get rid of that. Because it's like, if someone's got a fast break, like, we're not just going to, give you a easy layup. Like, we got to try to make a play, and, try to save a possession.
I agree with that, but the little, all right, I touched you.
Yeah.
Get your,
does it need to be the Euro style? Like you get a good whack in?
Yeah, do something.
Detroit Pistons.
If you don't want a fast break, it's okay. Get your ass down there and stop the
Don't
fast
stop
break,
it.
but not just, hey, you're running by. And
Yeah.
For me personally, as a fan, I like that. But look, I like a little bit of the old school, Gary Payton in the post kind of stuff.
So there you have it, Steve Ballmer. Just like Mark Cuban in the early 2000s, he's ushering that brand new archetype of what an NBA owner really is.